wasn't supposed to be like this. I just don't get it. You called me to this place. You led me to this place. You ordained what I was doing. And I still ended up here. Robbers and killers and criminals. And here I am, a man of God. I arrived here on a mission. When I got here on a mission, I found myself in prison. I don't know who's listening to me, but have you ever been in God's will and ended up in something you didn't plan on? One of the greatest mistakes we make is we think that being in God's will and being in purpose will keep you out of trouble. And I've lived now long enough to understand that sometimes trusting God and staying focused will put you in a fight. Sometimes staying focused will put you in the direct path of the devil. Sometimes staying focused will put you in a fiery furnace. You don't believe me? Ask the 3 Hebrew boys. They were remaining focused and ended up in a fiery furnace. Ask Daniel. Daniel, who stayed prayed. Daniel, who trusted God. Daniel, who never wavered, who fasted, who prayed, who sought God, who told the enemy no, who remained faithful. Yet Daniel ended up in the lion's den. I just don't get it. How do the 3 Hebrew boys remain focused and end up in a fiery furnace? How does Daniel remain focused and end up in a lion's den? How does Jesus remain focused yet ends up on a cross? It's because one of the greatest mistakes that the enemy wants you to realize, he wants you to believe that if you ever get in God's presence, you won't have a fight. And so many people end up frustrated, depressed, confused, overwhelmed, because the moment they begin to trust God, the moment they begin to live right, the moment they begin to tithe, the moment they begin to fast, the moment they begin to pray, all hell breaks loose. I don't know who's listening to me right now, but if you've ever caught hell after you trusted God, you need to type me. If you've ever caught hell after you began to pray, you need to type me. Because so many people believe that if I give my life to Christ, if I serve God, if I go to church, if I live right, I won't go through anything, when the truth of the matter is, the closer you get to God, the worse the devil shows up. The more you pray, the more he tries to drive you crazy. The moment you pay your tithes, think about it. When you were clubbing and spending all your money doing whatever you want to do, you had overflow. But then the moment you begin to tithe, you run out of money. I don't get it. When I was sleeping around, I had friends, but the moment I give my life to Christ, won't nobody return my call. When I was going to the club, everybody hit me up. My car was full. But when I started going to church, all of a sudden they called me bougie. I don't get it. I thought focus would get me friends. I thought focus would get me finances. I thought focus would get me prestige. Pastor Mike, I'm confused. You got me fasting. You got me praying. You got me living right. You got me coming to church. I'm coming virtual. I'm tithing. I'm on the devotion, yet I'm still catching hell. It's because whoever God favors, the kingdom features, but the devil fights. And sometimes focus will put you in one of the roughest places of your life. You better ask Daniel, who did nothing wrong, yet he ended up in a bad place. Ask the 3 Hebrew boys who I told you last week, 2 weeks ago, that they remained focused. They didn't bow. They didn't bow, and yet still ended up in the fiery furnace. Because focus and favor is not an exempt or get out of free jail card. Focus and favor does not exempt you from the different trials and the different vicissitudes of life. If you remain focused, you will have to prove it. Ask Paul, who's serving God. Paul, who like many of you has a past. Paul, who like many of you was doing what he thought was the right thing, but yet he was doing the wrong thing. And can I pause and ask somebody, have you ever been doing what you thought was right only to discover it was the wrong thing? And the Bible says Paul saw a light in it, knocked him down. Then he heard a voice called out to him. Then for a couple of days he was blind. He goes into a city and he gets a transformation. God changes him from Saul to Paul. From Saul to Paul. God says, I have to change your name because I'm changing your assignment. I'm going to say it again. I have to change your name because I'm changing your assignment. And I would like to submit to somebody watching me right now that the thing that you need to be praying about God most isn't a new house, isn't a new car, isn't more money. You need to be asking God for a name change. God, take me from poverty to prosperity. Take me from stressed to blessed. Take me from depressed to self-esteem. Oh, I don't know who I'm talking to, but God, I speak a name change. God, I need you to change my name. Change my name. This is why grandmother would say, things I used to do, I don't do no more. Places I used to go, I don't go no more because I've been changed. And I don't know who I'm talking to, but I'm getting excited. Why, Pastor Mike? Because when God changes your name, he changes your assignment. And when he changes your assignment, it aligns you for destiny. I'm going to say it again. When God changes your name, he changes your assignment. And when he changes your assignment, it puts you in alignment with your destiny. And I don't know who's going to receive this, but 100 of you need to just type, preach to me, Pastor. God says, I am aligning you with your destiny. The reason people are irritating you, the reason people are frustrating you, the reason you don't go certain places anymore, the reason you can't stand hanging around people is because they don't know your new name. And when they don't know your new name, they cannot comprehend your assignment. And when they cannot comprehend your assignment, they cannot come with you to your destiny. And I want to submit to you, because of the new name and the new assignment and your destiny, it may put you in a prison. Prison. I feel like these walls are closing in on me. I'm used to being free. I'm used to being able to come and go as I want to, but I'm in prison. I'm used to better conditions than this. I'm just used to being free. And I want to submit to somebody watching me right now that when you do not have maturity and you do not have focus, purpose feels like prison. Purpose feels like prison. Because when you come out of the world and you begin to change and you begin to live for God, certain places you can't go in, certain people you can't hang around, certain things you can't do anymore. And if you're not careful, purpose starts to feel like prison. It starts to, I was used to being able to live how I want to live and nobody said nothing, but now that I'm in purpose, people are looking at what I put on my page. They're judging all of my moves. It feels like the walls are closing in on me, because whenever you don't have the proper amount of focus, purpose looks like prison. That may be why Paul was so comfortable in prison, because he knew prison part of his purpose. You might be asking, how did Paul end up in prison? Paul arrived to this beautiful place, and when he got there, he was met by a sister by the name of Lydia. Lydia, man, was a seller of purple. You have to understand, Lydia was a bad sister. She was an entrepreneur, yet she held down her house. I'm going to say it again. She's an entrepreneur, but yet she holds down her house. I wish I could pause and preach to a sister watching who can shout, I'm a double threat. I wish 100 women would just type, I'm a double threat. Yeah, I'm able to get money, but also take care of my house. I'm able to have a business and a family. I'm able to be all God called me in corporate America, yet still be the mama and the wife God has called me to be. I am a double threat. And you have to be careful when you are a double threat, because whenever it is you are a double threat, the weight of your assignment can feel like prison. Paul gets to this beautiful place and he bumps into a sister named Lydia, and he begins to share the gospel. Paul begins to share the gospel of Jesus Christ, and the salvation. He begins to share the word of God with this sister. And this sister, the Bible says, it opened her heart. God opened her heart and she got saved. But the thing I love so much about this sister is that when she got saved, she in turn got her whole house saved. I'm going to say that again. When she got saved, she in turn got her entire house saved. I don't know who I'm preaching to, and I wish I wasn't confined, but there's somebody watching me right now. As a matter of fact, there are two types of people watching me right now. One of you, if God brings you out, you're going to come out and forget the people who helped you. But then there's another group of you that when God brings you out, everybody around you is coming out with you. I wish I had 100 people who would just tag every person who you bringing out with you. That when God gives me my next blessing, if you are connected to me, it ain't no fun unless everybody around me can be blessed. Because when God brings me out, everybody is coming out with me. She said, what I heard was so incredible. She had to tell her husband. She tells her husband she has to get her children. Because she said, my bloodline has to be blessed. Woo, I wish I had a parent who could just say, my children won't go through what I'm going through. My family won't suffer like I suffered. I don't know what my last name meant before I got here, but I know what it's going to mean after I leave here. God, I pray that you bless my bloodline. Do me a favor, type your last name. And I want to speak by faith that because of your sacrifice, because of your pain, because of your focus, everybody connected to you is coming out. Paul told me, he said, Mike, I didn't think much of it. We saved Lydia. This is what we do. We go from city to city, kind of transforming lives, and we saved Lydia. And I look at my partner, Silas, and I say, man, let's go to the temple to pray. When I got there, the first thing I wanted to do was pray. So I told him, let's pray. And we try to pray. Then we bump into Lydia. Then all of a sudden, I see a young girl who is a gifted girl. She's gifted, but yet twisted. She's gifted, but twisted. She has an anointing, but it hasn't been properly grown. She's an incredible young girl, man. She could have been a prophetess, man. This girl could have prophesied with the best of them. She could have prophesied to nations and kings and queens, but yet because she was in the wrong hands, they made her a fortune teller. I don't think you heard me. She could have been a prophetess, but because she was submitted to the wrong leader, she became wicked. She could have been used by God, but because the people who were handling her did not have integrity, they put her in an uncompromising position. The question I have to ask everybody who's trying to be focused is, whose hands are you in? To everybody who's attempting to do something powerful, to everybody who's attempting to be great in this life, the biggest question you're going to have to ask yourself this year is, whose hands are you in? What if your dream hasn't come to pass because you're connected to the wrong person? What if your business isn't flourishing because you don't have the right mentor? What if your career is at a stalemate because you aren't submitted to the right person? Sometimes being connected to the wrong person can cost you the right thing. This young girl becomes a fortune teller. She's a fortune teller, and she sees Paul and Silas, and she begins to follow Paul and Silas, and she begins to follow Paul and Silas. She would walk behind them and say, these are men of the Most High God. These are men of the Most High God. She was saying the right thing, but she had the wrong spirit. She's saying the right thing, but with the wrong spirit. Isn't that crazy? Because they are men of God, but her spirit was wrong. See, this is why certain people don't understand why you don't come around. It's because they've never said anything bad about you, but what they said, although it was factual, the spirit was wrong. She's saying these are men of the Most High God. These are men of the Most High God. And she's mocking us. Then Paul does what he does. Paul looks at her and casts spirit out of her and began to transform and change her life. And that's when the problem started. They didn't mind me saving Lydia because Lydia made her own money. They didn't mind me saving Lydia because Lydia was independent. But when I saved this young girl who they were profiting from, they got mad. See, sometimes the devil doesn't attack you because of what you did. He attacks you because of who you blessed. Sometimes the devil doesn't attack you because of where you are, but who you brought out of where you were. Oh, they couldn't take that. They began to beat us. They began to scald Paul and Silas. They began to rip their clothes off. They began to torment them and beat them half to the inch of their life. It makes me think, man, maybe they should have just left her where she was. Is there anybody in your life that truth of the matter is you're catching hell for how you're trying to help them? I wonder if there's anybody in your life that the more you help them, it seems like the more the devil tries to take you out. What if I told you that the attack on your life has nothing to do with them? But sometimes the attack you're going through right now is because the devil knows if I cut off you, who is the plug? If the plug is broken, the light will never work. And a lot of people don't even realize, and they would appreciate you more if they realize half of the hell that you were going through wasn't even your hell. You're going through hell right now because the devil knows if I cut you off, it'll kill a lifeline to a whole lot of people. I don't know who I'm preaching to. I don't know who I'm preaching to. I don't know who I'm preaching to, but I wish 5 people who knew if you ever quit, a whole lot of people would suffer. If you ever stopped, a whole lot of people would go hungry. If you ever stopped, a whole lot of people would give up. I need every person who's been holding it down for your family, every person who's been holding it down for your circle, ought to just type, pray for me. Pray for me, Pastor. You don't know how hard it is to pray and intercede for people who in turn fight you, then appreciate folk who don't even love them. You don't know how hard it is to be there for people who won't even be there for me back. You don't know how hard it is to work 2 jobs to make sure people got food on the table and make sure they don't want for nothing, only to be the main one they disrespect. How you disrespect me when I'm the one making sure you got what you got, then be nice to folk who would backstab you in a heartbeat. Ain't it crazy how the people you do the most for are sometimes the most ungrateful people, but it's sometimes a part of your purpose. And the immature eye and those who lack focus sometimes view prison for purpose. It feels like a prison when your family is ungrateful and you want to say no, but you can't find it in your heart. It feels like prison when you know they're finna ask you for something and you told yourself all week, I'm not giving them nothing. Yet when you see their face, you can't say no. Because sometimes purpose feels like prison. It's a guy down the hall by the name of Samson. It's a guy down the hall by the name of Samson. And I was asking him when I got in, I said, man, how did you end up here? He's strong, man, muscles. And I looked at him. I said, man, how did you get called? He said, I was chosen from birth. He said, most people pick being a Nazirite, but an angel came to my parents and said, this boy is special. So from birth, I was called to be a Nazirite. And because I'm a Nazirite, they gave me 3 instructions. I said, what were those 3 instructions? He said, they gave me 3 instructions. I said, what were those 3 instructions? And he literally said to me, he said, number 1, I cannot consume wine or anything from the wine tree or the wine press. He said, I cannot come in contact with a dead body and I cannot cut my hair. And I said, oh my God. He said, yes. I said, so 3 things you couldn't do. If you were going to remain focused, there were 3 things he had to stay away from. Don't consume, don't cut, and don't come in contact. Don't consume, don't cut, don't come in contact. I don't know who I'm watching right now. This man was strong. He was Herculean. He could wrestle lions, tigers, and bears. No man could defeat him. He would defeat armies by himself. And all he had to do was remain focused in 3 areas. He could live any kind of way, do whatever he wanted to do, but there were 3 areas he could not fail in. Don't consume wine or anything that was made from the grape or the wine press. Do not cut your hair and don't come in contact with a dead body. And can you believe it? He lost focus. I wonder who's watching me right now. The truth of the matter is you failed in one of these 3 areas. Number 1, you consumed something you shouldn't have consumed. Consuming is not just drinking or eating, but it is also a euphemism or a metaphor for information. Consume is also a euphemism or a metaphor for information. You took in some information you shouldn't have got. Yeah, Pastor Mike, how does consume prove that consume is a metaphor or a euphemism for information? Think about it. When you're listening to gossip, you ask them for the tea. Tea is something you sip. So sometimes information, and many of you are failing right now, not because you are a bad person, you've consumed the wrong thing. Jesus, you consumed the wrong thing. You were a faithful person till you got around messy people and consumed their doubt. And when you heard that God didn't do it for them, you assumed because God didn't do it for them, he can't do it for you. When you got something they don't got, and it's called favor, you consumed the wrong thing. Many of you are frustrated right now. You were happy on your job. You prayed for that job, but then you got around people who are miserable on a job and you consumed their negativity, and now you can't find anything positive about your life. Many of your relationships were great relationships. You loved your husband, you loved your wife, you loved your man, you loved your woman. Y'all had problems. Who doesn't have problems? But y'all found a way to work through it. Then you got with a girlfriend and she began to give you all the negative stuff of her past and how her man's sorry and her man don't do nothing, how his wife don't do nothing and his wife complain, and you consumed their problem, and now you're full on their foolishness because you consumed the wrong thing. This is why you have to get off Instagram. Let me out. This is why you got to get off of Instagram. This is why you can't spend all day on TikTok. This is why you can't be on everybody's timeline, because too much of that stuff is bad for my consumption. I remember one time I was at the house and we were cleaning up, right? And I left the cleaning supplies in the drawer, and lady has a lock she puts on the drawer, and she came in the room and said, make sure you lock that. I said, why? She says, Mason and Mike may not know better. They were small at the time. I said, what do you mean? She said, I had to explain to them that this is Kool-Aid, this is Powerade, this is Minute Maid. I said, what's the problem? The Minute Maid bottle looked just like the Clorox bottle in shape. And to an immature eye, because I drink from a Minute Maid bottle, I would assume this is the same thing. And I had to explain to him that although it's in the same type of case, this is not for consumption. And many of you are drinking in knowledge and taking in things that is toxic to your purpose. Where would you be right now had you not consumed that? Oh, woo! Somebody ought to type, keep your tea. Somebody ought to type, keep your tea. Keep your tea. I don't need to keep your negativity. I'm done consuming that. I need you to do me a favor. I need you to do me a favor. I need 100 of you when I get through preaching today to just go to your social media and say, when people come around you talking negative, just say, when they bring doubt about what God called you to do, and when they look at you and say, why you keep doing that? Because you taste bad. No. You trying to bring something that's antithetical to my taste buds. I can't consume that, because when I consume your foolishness and your negativity and your doubt and your insecurity and your worldly ways and your wicked thoughts, it derails my focus. Samson had 3 areas to remain focused. Number 1, don't consume. I'm confused. See, because you have to be careful when you're in purpose. Focus is the key. You have to be careful, because my assignment isn't your assignment. I'm going to say it again. My assignment isn't your assignment. When we find Jesus at his first miracle at the wedding at Cana of Galilee, he turns water into wine. Wine comes from grapes. This is critical. I need you to catch this. Wine comes from grapes. But yet Jesus does not turn grapes into wine. He turns water into wine. That's critical. Is this somewhat of can we make this analogous to Samson? How Samson isn't to consume wine, but yet Jesus can turn water into wine. Why? Because Samson's assignment isn't Jesus's assignment. And many of you are losing focus because you're paying attention to the person in the lane next to you. Just because they can do it doesn't mean you can do it. This is why I need my word. This is why, Pastor Mike, truth be told, I thank God for you. You make the Bible come to life. You've helped me grow so much in God. Every week I come to your church because I need to consume the right thing. Ooh, somebody ought to just type, I need the word. Yeah, I need the word. When I'm having a bad day, I need to consume the right thing. When times get difficult, I need a good word. Samson said I wasn't supposed to consume, or this is crazy, don't cut your hair. Critical, man. This brother, he showed me a picture, had beautiful locks. Oh my God. Beautiful, long, healthy locks. But he was not supposed to cut them. Not supposed to cut them. And I'm sitting there like, why? He said, my strength was in my hair. My virtue was in my hair. I said, Samson, then why are you bald head now here in prison? And Samson says, because I laid in the wrong woman's lap. Jesus. And here's what's crazy. Because me and him got pretty close. And Samson said, this wasn't my first time being in the wrong lap. One time before, I hooked up with a sister who was the wrong sister, but I got away. I said, why didn't you learn your lesson? He said, because unfocused people view grace as privilege. Unfocused people view grace as privilege. I said, what do you mean? He says, when you're unfocused, sometimes you assume because God lets you get out of that, he'll automatically let you get out of this. Sometimes you assume that just because God made a way then, he will make that same way now. I said, wow, that made me think about the other brother I knew who I met when I was in Bookend by the name of Moses, who God taught him in the wilderness to strike the rock. And when he struck the rock, water came out of the rock. But because he lost focus, he then in the second half of his life struck the rock when God told him to speak to the rock. And the problem is he still got the same result of the past, but he reneged and he did not walk into his future because he lost focus. Ah, man, cut your hair. And he lost his strength. Can I ask you a question? What did you allow to be cut that drained you? Better yet, who did you trust that took your innermost secrets and used them against you? I want to say this and I pray you can receive it. And it may be the tweet of the day, the post of the day. Be careful of people who weaponize your weakness. Be careful of people who weaponize your weakness, who takes the very things you use or the very things that you confide to them and they then use it against you. Think about it. You told them that you grew up without a father and that was a weak area in your life. So then what do? They use the pain of knowing that you do not have covering to then manipulate your feelings into thinking that you're not loyal when you don't stand by their foolishness. They weaponize your weakness. You got to be careful who you trust. You got to be careful who you trust. Because if you're going to be focused in 2021, there will be wolves dressed in sheep's clothing. There will be people who speak and show signs of godliness who have no form of. There will be those who know Bible verses and scriptures who you will look at and say are integral and are humble and walk in humility, who are the most manipulative people you have ever met in your life. But because you are so desperate for connection, you confuse connection with covenant. Because you are so desperate for connection, you confuse connection with covenant. You so desperately want to be connected to somebody that the first person who attaches to you, you automatically assume you're in covenant with. That's not a bad thing. The problem that you have is that you keep thinking people will treat you like you treat them. You keep thinking people will be to you what you are to them, when in actuality, they won't ever be who you are because they don't have the level of focus and care that you have. Oh my God, who are you trusting? Who do you need to delete right now? Whose call do you not need to answer ever again? Whose room do you never ever need to go into again? Be careful, because connecting to toxic people will produce toxic results. I'm sorry, but I can't waste another year in love with toxic people. I can't keep giving advice to people who won't take it, then hold me prisoner to bailing them out. I can't keep staying on the phone with you all night knowing you not finna change. I can't allow you to trick and manipulate me into thinking that loyalty is slavery. You gonna give them your destiny? Samson. Oh my God, Samson. Samson told me to tell you that although your hair grow back, you'll never be the same person. And that's crazy because so many times we say things in church like, I got it back. Can I help you real quickly? I got a lot of stuff back the devil stole but me. I'm not who I used to be. You're going to make way more money than you lost. Your house going to be way bigger than the one that you lost. Your car going to be way nicer than the one that you drove. Everything about you going to be blessed. But can I free you?